Good afternoon, everyone. As you can see, haven't been on here in a long time, and I've been trying to stay clear of these YouTube streets and the drama that's been going on. Just working on myself and trying to build myself, and it's been a real journey. It's been an interesting journey. First of all, I signed up for Ancestry.com to number one know get confirmation about my roots and find biological relatives, because I didn't know any of my biological relatives. I was in foster homes, as you know, from when I was a young child, and I left where I was from, Cincinnati, Ohio, to live in Camden, New Jersey. And so all this time I never knew. Well, I hadn't had a relationship with my biological family since that time. For years I was looking, searching for biological family, and I would reach dead end after dead end after dead end. Um, Before I took the test, I ended up finding records of my mom's family, which I was able to trace all the way back to my great grandparents back in the 1860s. Um, both were slaves. In fact, I found my great grandfather in the Freedmen's Bureau. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So months go on. I take the DNA test. I get my results, and I get matches. And I found a close family match that at first I didn't know who she was to me. And then I uploaded my ancestry.com raw data, the DNA data that you put inside your inside the tube, and they analyzing and everything like that, over to another site called familytreedna.com. And after I did that, I found a match that ended up becoming extremely fruitful. The person that I matched with ended up being my first cousin, who, after correspondence with emails, he was able to find my biological father. Greatest day of my life. That was 2 weeks ago Friday. And I can't tell you enough how grateful I am to have that happen and know that he's alive. And the first time we talked, which was that Friday, I took the day off because I couldn't focus on work, knowing this news. So I talked to him, and it was a very good talk. We had a lot of conversation about everything that happened, and it made me appreciative of his situation and why he did what he did. He signed over rights to go into foster care because he couldn't fully take care of me. He couldn't fully take care of the rest of his family. He was only 19 when he had me. My mom was 22. They were married, and they lived in the projects. He was making $80 a week, trying to provide for me, my mother, and both my grandmoms. They were both widows, so it felt on him, being the firstborn son, it fell on him basically to take care of them. And it was just hard for him, and he made the decision that he made, and my life was changed, wasn't the same. But after all this, I found all my all my aunts. I have 8 aunts. 6 of them are living. I have 2 uncles. One lives in Montana. No one knows where he is, and the other lives in Cincinnati. And through him, I was able to get to my father. So my father and I, we've talked 4 times in the last 8 days. I I corresponded with a few cousins. One cousin, you know, my nickname is T. For my middle name Chishala, and he was telling me how much it impacted him that I was no longer in his life because we all knew each other from the time we were little kids. Well, we knew each other from when we were little kids. We all hung together and everything. So we just corresponded and broke bread, and it was just a really, really emotional. It was really emotional, and so I I have been very impacted by everything that's going on. It's led me to research everything on both sides of my family, and what I know now is that not only am I a descendant of slaves, but I'm also a descendant of a slave owner. Because my great 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 grandmother, the one who's married to my great 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 grandfather that I found in the Freeman's Borough, he, she was the daughter of a slave who had relations with the slave owner, and that just that just breaks my heart. But it's the history of our country. It's what we, those who are African Americans, quote unquote African Americans, people of color who are descendants of slaves. This is our history. Um, I know that a lot of people who know about the ancestry.com and taking DNA tests, that some do not want to do that, especially if not of especially if they're not of darker skin, because you find out that you're not as quote unquote black as you think, as society feels that you are. That has people questioning your quote unquote blackness. But I don't regret it because I learned my history, and that's all that we should be able to do. I like I said, I've stayed clear of the YouTube streets and social media as far as like responding and getting into to discussions like that. But I've been seeing, you know, um, how we okay. Let me backtrack on what I'm trying to say. Okay, as I was saying, I've been staying clear of all the drama and everything, and researching, my history, so that I can have a full understanding of how not only to empower myself, but to empower my community. You know, we've been sidetracked over so many things that we haven't even gotten into the meat of why our country is the way it is. Systematic racism affects us in so many deep ways. There are people that say, well, the one drop rule doesn't matter. You shouldn't even entertain it. Well, the one drop rule is a major reason why we have the systematic racism that we have. you have to address the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is systematic racism. So if we're going to be the country that we're meant to be, that we're supposed to, have to meet our potential, then we must address these issues. We as a people must understand what we're facing so that we can combat it. So this leads me to this. So I did get into a discussion with someone that on a video was talking about, it was a video that was made a long time ago. The reporter Soledad O'Brien had a topic called, Black in America. Who's black? And I made a response about how I used my I said that I've never had a doubt about me being quote unquote black in this country. You know, just because I'm light skinned, and everything. Um, I've never not known, and even with me being adopted and everything, I've never had a day where I've not known who I am as far as what I am ethnically. See, it's one thing to go into the racial aspects of it all and everything like that, but I found through Ancestry.com that my roots are from a community that came from the transatlantic slave trade. Um, you'll have to. I'm going to get into my Ancestry.com results as I say this. Um, and you'll have to trust my word for this. I'm 77% sub-Saharan descent. 45% of that is Nigerian. 17% is Cameroon, Congo, and the Southern Bantu people. So I have Bantu ethnicity. I always figured that, but that totally confirmed it. Um, I have 7% Mali. 5% Benin Togo. 2% Senegal, and I have 1%. I forget that 1% is, but it's also a country in West Africa. And then I have 23% European, 11% Irish, 10% England, and 2% Norwegian, trace region that is. And all that area is basically Northwest Europe. It's definitely the confirmation that of slave trade, that my ancestors on the whole came from slave trade. And as I said, the ancestors that are European comes from the evolution of that slave trade. As I said, it's a hard thing to say, but it's definitely great to confirm what you already knew of yourself. And one of the things that Ancestry.com does also is that it tells you what communities that you come from, because the communities are DNA genetic communities that connect you with people that are that are matches for you, so that you know who your family is, who your cousins are, and everything like that. So I am part of the early African American community. Timeline they gave me was 1700s which is the timeline which slavery really started to begin within Virginia. At one point in the 1600s, um, there were free people, you know, free black people that had a community. As it progressed, that community, Virginia started to, well, Virginia, the people there, the Caucasians, they needed to grow crops like tobacco, so they brought slaves over and they increased slave trade. And I descend from that time period. So I through that I researched it, and again I found my aunt who has a very similar ancestry to me. A couple things different. A lot of English descent, and in comparison to mine, but that's another topic. The point of the matter is that on the video that I saw, I responded and I said what I said, and the person told me that no, you're not black, you're mixed, which I'm not gonna argue with that. Of course I'm mixed. Of course I am. Even going even with my sub-Saharan ancestry, I'm mixed with different ethnicities within that because our ancestors came from all over West and Central Africa, and even some Mas, from Mastagar, which is in East Africa. So we're diverse when it comes to our African ancestry, and then you know they go deeper even with the European ancestry. The interesting thing is that as I studied the samples, because I wanted to know how how my results compared with other African Americans that took this test, or those that um are descendants from West and Central Africa. Um, Even though we had some differences as far as like you know where our ancestries come from, Europe and everything like that, a lot of common commonality with our ancestry, and not as much Native American as you would think. We have a lot of stories that, oh yeah, whatever mixture we have, a lot of that is Native American. Mm-mm. At the greatest, at average is like 2% maybe. I didn't have any Native American, and it's funny because I talked to my dad, and my dad said that we have Native American ancestry, but I didn't want to tell him no, 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 that's not where we get our egg mixture from. That is not African. It's from our European, and it's not just me. As I said, I checked my aunt's results, and it's the same way. She didn't have any Native American show up there either. So that confirmed to me right there that Native American ancestry among the Prices, which is my dad's family, not true. And that's okay. I mean, that's history, you know. So he told me that I wasn't. So the person that I responded to told me I wasn't black and everything, and I'm trying to explain to him that that any egg mixture that I have is from slavery. This is normal for African Americans. We especially the majority of us. There's there's not many 100% pure sub-Saharan Africans. So, but he said he was 100% pure, whatever. So eventually, I just ended the conversation because it just it went nowhere. Person didn't even want to listen. He just wanted to show just how pure African he was, and that I was ashamed of myself and a hypocrite for claiming to be quote unquote African American fully, which I didn't do that. I mean, I posted what my results were. If I didn't want it, if I wanted to hide that or anything like that, I would have never done that. So it was being a troll, and I just ended the conversation because it just wasn't a profitable thing for me. We're in a war right now, and that war is number one to empower our community as a collective. As I said, I've been monitoring these getting news, news that that interests me and inform me, and there's a group called ADOS, which means American Descendants of Slavery. Is to basically get reparations for the things that our people went through slavery and through Jim Crow segregation and all the things after that. As I said before, my dad was making $80 a week. We lived in the projects in Cincinnati that no longer exist, and it was hard. Even though I don't remember everything, I remember some of how we lived in the projects, and it nobody should have to live like that, and that's part of our history. So, you know, even when segregation was abolished, we still lived in segregated, gentrificated areas that showed how impoverished we were, and we still are in that state. Just because there's few that are in the upper middle class, and even a few that are rich, doesn't mean that the whole African American, the whole of the African American ethnic group. And I'm gonna say something about that African American term after I make this point, that the African American ethnic group is by and large in poverty. There's a wealth gap between those that have privilege and those who have had their history from slavery. So I'm trying to explain a lot of these things to this man, and he didn't want to listen. But I realize again, we're in a war. It's time we as men especially have to step up, start speaking, start doing the things that is intent to empower each other as a community. We can't be sidetracked over identity politics. The LGBT, and all those different things. Yes, all Black Lives Matter, all ADOS slash three free people of color lives matter. That includes them. But what we're not going to do is use identity politics to sidetrack what will benefit the collective. This isn't about you and getting little trinkets and getting some crumbs from the powers that be. It's sitting at the table that we helped to build. We built that table. We're blood, sweat, and tears. Our ancestors did, that is. And then after we were promised that we would be able to eat of that table, we got further oppressed, which led to the civil rights movement. And even after that, still, we've been oppressed. Every day. Every day. As much as I respect the cops are not even that, or even not even bad in Camden, New Jersey. Even with all of that, I still fear coming out of my house and wondering, is someone going to use their prejudice against me? And it's not just me. I worry for the future of our young women. We've totally disrespected them in so many ways. We've made their sacrifices. We've not valued them at all. And it upsets me because they are the backbone of our community. They've held it down for our community ever since we've come over from slave ships and migrated to this country through that. They were abused and still are. And we, as men, we've cared more about our own empowerment than empowering them. And enough is enough with that. If we're going to be the community that we're supposed to be, we need to understand that yes, all Black lives matter. It goes beyond gender, sexual orientation, all those things. We need to put aside our ego for the collective. Enough is enough. If we're not going to do that, then we are no better than those that have been benefiting from the privilege of systematic racism. No better than them. And I said what I said on that. I'm tired of seeing a country that I love, a country that I served for a year, acting this way. I'm 44 years old. Let me repeat, I'm 44 years old. And it saddens me that we've not progressed from when I was a little kid living in projects. It saddens me to see me fear something happened to my loved ones because there are prejudiced people out there. It saddens me, hurts me. And so we as a people have to do what we need to do to empower ourselves and make our voices heard. And this is what I have to say. Again, it's been a minute since I been on here. I don't have a lot of subscribers or followers or anything like that, but I felt the need to say something about what's been going on in my life, and I hope everyone has a safe weekend. And the next couple of weeks is gonna be 4th of July. I hope everyone has a great holiday. And God bless all of you.